All right, and on we have Suitor. Suitor's an independent rock band from Northwest Georgia, infusing elements of indie, pop punk, and grunge. All of this brought to you with the energy of your favorite hardcore band is the way they like to describe themselves. Specifically on YouTube, it's rock music your parents are cool with.
Nice.
Not lying.
Yeah, man. On with us today, we have Cameron, Dallas, and Casey. What's up, guys?
Not a whole lot, man. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for doing it. Now, I would say a solid month ago or so, we hit you up. Steph can be given the credit for finding you guys on good old Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks.
And it's totally our style, man. It's totally what we like to listen to, specifically Steph. She likes all that stuff.
I love it.
And I am really digging a lot of the vibes you guys are putting out. You guys have a new single coming out on, by the time this airs, it would have already been out. That's your new single, Bad Love, that you could pretty much find anywhere. And you guys are even having a companion music video coming out with it too, right?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah, man. So tell us a little bit about that new single. Like, Casey, are you writing the lyrics? Who does what in the band in regards to like the writing process?
Yeah, I do. I guess the main vocal. So I sing and then I write the lyrics. I think sometimes we'll kind of put something together as a group. But yeah, most of the lyrics are being written.
Okay, like on their own without any music.
Sometimes, yeah. I think everybody's like creative process is a little bit different. We get together once a week, so sometimes I find it easier to like see what the guys bring to practice musically and kind of get a vibe for that, and then right there,
Yeah.
Our process, honestly, is, I mean, by modern times standard, it's pretty old school. It's kind of rare that I feel like a lot of bands these days are, kind of writing on their own and then bringing stuff, or sending tracks back and forth. I mean, hell, half the bands are members are living in different states, but I feel like we're one of the few bands that really get in a room together and write most of the stuff. And a lot of times it starts with like Dallas brings a riff to, practice, or I bring something, or kind of like mapped out on our own, and then we all flush it out together. But by the time it starts and by the time it ends, it's always completely different once everyone puts their own flavor on it.
Yeah. Yeah, because and even then, like each song is probably a little different in how you guys came up with it. No, or do you guys have a pretty much like a formula or something down?
I wouldn't say that we really have much of a formula. I mean, we pull a lot of influences from various different like genres of music. So, maybe one song is kind of like like Blackout. It's kind of more of like in our heads we imagine it as like a barn dance kind of song, like a really like Western style kind of like vibe to a rock song. And then Bad Love is a lot more like kind of in the pop punk.
You guys have barn dances out there?
No.
Not so much.
They're few and far in between, but we're aware of them.
We'll send you some YouTube videos.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, I wouldn't say there's a formula, but we definitely have our tendencies. I'd say a lot of the new stuff, Blackout, Dallas brought that riff, and then he and I kind of fleshed out before practice. Then once everyone got there, kind of structured it. And I have these 4 huge windows in my living room that, they're supposed to be like, oh, so pretty, looking at nature, but they're literally like whiteboards for us.
Yeah.
So like, we'll write out song structures, and over the pandemic, I've been teaching myself how to kind of like engineer on my own, just to handle like pre-production stuff to save us time and money in a studio. So, I mean, we'll have demos that when Dallas comes over, Casey gets here a little early, we'll just be like, hey, I wrote these 2 this week. Then we kind of pick parts that we like from them and turn them into songs. Kind of speeds up a little bit of the writing process. But so I wouldn't say there's a formula, but definitely tendencies for each song.
Yeah. So is it fair to say that you are like you like to visualize it, at least you, Cameron? I realize that you're credited as the director for the videos.
Yeah, so by my trade, like for a living, I do photo and video. I'm an art director at a hospital where I handle, photo, video, graphic design, you name it. And then I also run a business as a photographer, and I tour with a lot of bands. I've been creating content for a lot of bands since 2014, outside of like the band that Dallas and I used to be in. So it's just kind of nice that we're able to have a lot of these like skill sets in house. Where typically you're relying on label budgets to help pay for a $6,000-$7,000 video, whereas we can kind of conceptualize, and Casey can give me crazy ideas, and we'll figure out how to make it all work and just do it all in house.
We call him Dad.
Yeah, dude, I was checking out some of your photography. I love what you do with a lot of the lighting in
Thanks.
that. Yeah, it's really impressive. So kudos on that. I think these guys are spoiled. Yeah, man. And Casey, your vocals are just they're great, man. They remind me of a lot of the influences that I grew up with. A lot of Thrice vibes from where I'm catching. A little My Morning Jacket, a little something like that. And
Say more.
High praise, man. Thank you.
And then just to round it out, man, Dallas, I was checking out some of your guitar videos. Those are pretty goddamn impressive. Also. Yeah, dude, your entire Instagram there. Like, so do you do one a week or one a month? What's going on over there?
It started off as like a once a week kind of thing, and then it got kind of hectic with like my regular work schedule and keeping up with this and like other like music things that I was a part of. So I kind of dropped down to like once every other week, and then I had to go through like a big, huge move, and I just kind of never really got back in the swing of it. So I think my last video was probably a year and a half ago.
What was it called? We're gonna plug it. Riff
Wednesday.
Riff Wednesday.
Riff Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
Okay. So let's go back to Bad Love. I know you guys shared the music video with me. By the time we're recording this, it's not yet out, but it's really impressive the way it was shot. Who came up with the concept of like that, of the white background and all the crazy shit going on?
So, I mean, everything that we typically do is fairly collective. Like, we don't really have like one person that's like, you're the main songwriter. Like, well, I mean, Dallas is the only one in the band that can really shred. But besides that, everything is like, we started just like throwing around these concepts and Casey explaining like the lyrics and kind of like what's behind it, because we never want to be too on the nose with like a video to where we're essentially narrating a story.
Yeah.
You rather do it a little bit more abstract, and just from like connections that I have from different studios that I work out of for day jobs, I just happen to have access to a psych wall. A friend of mine runs a studio in our city that has a really cool, big white psych wall, and it was something that I would be able to film while being in it. And I had some helping hands. My friend Haley came from Atlanta. She also tours as a content creator, and she's great with a camera, so she kind of helped me with a couple angles so that we could have some actual moving footage that I was in, rather than just like static cameras and having to like punch in to make it look like there was movement. But then a lot of the stuff was like spur of the moment, like the all denim thing.
Well, you said the words Canadian tuxedo.
Yes.
And brand.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
now it's kind of like the whole theme and vibe for this release.
It's kind of keeping like the aesthetic of our band.
Yeah, we love
It's
it.
really become a vibe for us.
It's working out. I like it.
We dreamed of having hair. So, we had that wig.
Yeah.
And a lot of like the stuff after the whole Canadian tux idea ran, I mean, like the Richie on like the exercise bike.
I was going to say. Yeah.
Literally found that behind the psych wall and just threw it in. Casey, when he had like the karaoke machine, that was the speaker that we were using to play the song to play to. And it was just a last minute thing. Me on top of like the mountain of amps with, a mullet. Just a lot of that kind of stuff was just thrown in last minute because it's very us. Like, we're just a quirky bunch. Like, it's just nonstop bullshitting with all of us.
Yeah.
So like it was a way to kind of have fun with the video because it's a poppy song. It's like a little more upbeat.
Yeah.
It's not classic sad boy tunes. So we just kind of let it evolve on its own. And I just spent a week cutting it together and seeing how weird we can make it, and just using the resources that we had.
Right on. And you guys have a single release show coming up on Saturday, March 11th over at Summit Mist Vapors in Rome, Georgia. You're playing with some of your friends there. What are the other bands there that are joining you that night?
Drown It Out are some friends of ours. Dylan, who plays guitar in Drown It Out, actually produced and tracked the Bad Love single. He runs a studio in town, super talented guy.
Sweet.
And their band is awesome too. If you haven't checked them out, they're definitely worth the listen. And then Xavion, who's opening the show, is a local hip hop artist that we like eclectic shows because it brings together a whole bunch of people from different vibes. Like we'll have, people there for the hip hop background. We'll have, Drown It Out and us kind of share similar fans, like as far as like that 90s grunge alternative kind of vibe. But we just try to fill it with our good friends and like really good people. Xavion's one of the most supportive people, and I've been working with him for years doing photos and helping him with like studio stuff. And it's just a show full of homies, honestly. And Summit Mist is really small, so we don't want to have, 100 people packed in there that we hate. So it's just going to be a fun time. If we're going to get COVID, it's going to be from someone we care about.
There you go. That's the spirit.
Share the love.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we've talked about it. Let's go ahead and play it. Bad Love. Here we go. And that was Bad Love, man. That was great. We're going to play a couple of other tracks here, but I wanted to touch on something that you guys did and released back in November. I noticed that you guys did a cover of Song 2 by Blur for Middleman Records compilation cover album out of, what was it called? Grave Neighbors Volume 6?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did that come about?
So Blur itself, we always talked about, hey, Jesus Christ, Casey and I probably have a million messages back and forth, oh, we should do a cover of this song. Let's cover this.
Yes.
And
to this day, we did it earlier.
Every single practice, we come up with at least one song that we're like, oh, that'd be cool to cover.
But we never do it. So literally one day, I was just at home and I was listening to that song. I sent it to Casey, and Casey's always like, "Oh fuck yeah, we should cover it." So I just learned it on guitar and I just started playing it, and then it kind of forced the whole band to learn it. Not that it's a complicated song. But Yeah, it was just really, just kind of fell into place. And then a buddy of mine who knows Eddie that runs Third Man Records, they're like, hey, like we had some bands drop off this compilation. Is there any way you guys can, track a cover? And we just literally just had it. We played it at one show, like at a local show, because we play this. There aren't a whole lot of music venues in Rome, Georgia, as you can imagine. So the places that we typically play are like outdoor bars, and then we pack them out with our friends.
Yeah.
But we also enjoy having like the boomer crowd, giving them something that they can be like, oh, if you've ever been to a sporting event or something, like that song. So of course we play it and like everybody goes nuts. And then my friend Tyler hits me up about the compilation. So we track it and get it mixed and mastered like all within like a week.
Yeah.
Something like super quick.
Yeah.
It sounds great. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It's raw. It's just so much fun to play. We played at almost every show just because it's a minute and a half long and everybody loves it.
And it goes to show like how much more energy you guys can inject into that 2-minute song by just adding bass to the second verse.
Yeah. Casey also sings it in a British accent, which is pretty awesome.
Right on.
Yeah. Simply must. Yeah.
So you guys, before we played the song, you guys touched on COVID. How'd you guys survive the pandemic? How'd you guys make do?
As a band or personally? Because I got two sides of that story.
Where do you want to start?
As a band, it was tough. Just because every time we released something, it seemed like another wave hit.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, with me working in healthcare, I see a totally different side of things because I'm in COVID emergency rooms, ICUs, CCUs, and the campaigns that we're doing in our marketing department, you see a whole different side of it. So it can kind of, you start playing things a lot safer because obviously I've seen a 24-year-old on a ventilator. I've seen all this. So show opportunities, when they arise, we really had to like weigh our options as far as like, is this worth possibly being exposed to it? Is this show, if we commit to it, do we even know if it's going to happen? Just like every pandemic band, it's just been, you can't really navigate it. You kind of hope and you wish and hope for the best. And unfortunately we had two records that, when Folklore came out, that's when like the initial wave hit right after we released it.
It almost started over.
Yeah.
It was strange.
Yeah.
And then once we released Blackout, that's when like the Delta surge kind of hit. So, I mean, we had a bunch of shows lined up at some larger venues, like with national touring acts, that we had to drop because either the tour, had to skip a few dates because of, possible exposures, or we had one show where, two of our members, caught it and everybody was as safe as they possibly could. But
I was one of them.
Yeah. Way to go, Casey.
I know.
Yeah. If it wasn't for him, like, we'd be national tours.
Who knows?
Be playing
stadiums.
Coachella this year.
So it was just kind of tough because there's no way to predict any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You could be as safe as possible, but I mean, hell, you grab the wrong shopping cart at Kroger, and next thing you know, you're in bed for 10 days. So it sucked.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So we just wrote as much music as possible, and now we have a backlog of stuff that we're slowly going to be releasing.
Yeah. Well, you guys welcomed in the Delta variant with Blackout. So I think it's only appropriate we play Blackout because that one has one of the sickest intros I've seen or I've heard in a little while. So
Thank you.
Yeah, here we go. All right. Well, that was Blackout. And just you guys just that's all you do. You pump out bangers. That's all you do.
We appreciate
We
it.
try.
Yeah, man. I enjoy every single release you guys have done. Now, we're gonna play "Deep Sleep" by Folklore in a little bit. That was your first EP. I gotta ask, what are you guys listening to right now? Like, who are the bands that you guys kind of draw inspiration from? Not the ones that you kind of like grew up listening to, but who do you like right now?
You want to start, babe?
Sure thing, dear. I don't know. I kind of go through weird phases where I'll just be really stuck on a couple, like a specific genre, and just ride that out. Lately, I've been on a really big like pop kick, so I've been listening to a lot of like older 1975. The last couple of days. There's a lady by the name of Laurel who's really really good. Just a lot of like kind of pop stuff lately, but I kind of go back and forth between that and like some like Balance and Composure and Every Time I Die and a bunch of other like punk rock bands just kind of in different veins.
Yeah.
All throughout.
What about you, Casey? Who do you like?
Yeah, I pretty much just listen to what Cam tells me to listen to. No, in all honesty, I probably have like the weirdest, like I don't know, most eclectic music taste. I have a very short commute, which is compared to like I don't know, back in the day, that's when you listen to the most music, or at least for me it was when I used to long commute. And now that I'm not driving as much, man, I listen to the radio a lot, and I know that sounds like super boomer of me or whatever, but I will straight up listen to some like oldies radio. Like I love, like you said, don't
CCR.
Yeah, for real though. Like you say, don't talk about stuff you listened to growing up, but I think I'm one of those people that still listens to what they listened to growing up.
Right on. What about you, Ken?
Whether that's like country, pop, rap, like metal, punk
Everything.
rock. Yeah, seriously. If I wanted to name one though, probably Movements is one of my like favorite like contemporary, I guess, punk rock style pop punk bands. Is that what you would call them? Alternative, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good.
So I've been jamming them a lot as far as like newer music goes.
And Cameron, what are you making them listen to?
So lately I've been diving into this band called Commonwealth. I'm not sure where they're from, but a friend of mine, I call him part of my focus group. So like we just recently got a new single back from mixing and mastering. So I sent it to a couple friends of mine, and I guess this band popped up on like related artists or like, somehow he found this band through our page, and I've been diving into them a lot. But besides that, a lot of singer-songwriter stuff, honestly, like City and Color has had a bunch of new stuff come out. So, he pretty much stays on repeat in my book. Besides that, I've been on a little bit of a pop punk kick. Like Stand Atlantic has put out some pretty cool stuff lately. But yeah, that's Commonwealth has kind of taken up a lot of my time lately. And then, I'll listen to like really heavy stuff like the gym and things like that. But that's all like old Knocked Loose and shit like that. For a few years.
Who's out there killing it in Georgia aside from yourselves?
Ooh. Microwave.
Any shout outs? Microwave, okay.
Yeah. So Microwave, they're constantly doing big things. They're one of the bands that I've been working for since 2015.
Okay.
And then Stay Here out of Atlanta. They're doing some really cool stuff, dropping singles all the time.
We already mentioned Drown It Out.
Drown It Out. There's a band called Dim out of Atlanta, and they're some of our best friends. They've been a little hush lately. They're doing some new writing and stuff like that, so they haven't been as active. But it's literally a band of like super musicians. Like every single person in that band is incredible at what they do. So they're definitely a band to check out.
Nice. So speaking of releasing new stuff, I noticed you guys have a little bit of a pattern where not only do you release things around like Halloween time, but you do your single EP and or album. I can only guess, with this new single, is this going to be a part of a larger project?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
The way we're trying to like, COVID really screwed things up as far as like those releases, and we almost feel like they were almost wasted because we put out a single, put out a full release, but with just like the traffic that they got and just like I feel like how oversaturated everything is.
Yeah.
It's just proving that singles are kind of the way to go versus like full EPs or full lengths, because one, people just have the attention span of gnats these days.
Yeah.
Anything that's going to be, you have 15 seconds to lock people into your music.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So I think for the foreseeable future, unless there's some kind of reason to put out an EP or a reason to put out a full length, we're just going to be doing singles, but we're also tracking them in a certain way to where, say we put out 3 singles and then someone approaches us or like, hey, like we should put out a full record.
Yeah.
They'll be cohesive on a record. So it's almost like dripping out, a full record over time, but not necessarily under the same album art, under the same potential concept.
Yeah. Well,
trying to keep something new in everybody's ears and just kind of stay relevant, because unfortunately with how the pandemic has treated everything, your standard metrics are Spotify listeners or engage on this platform or that platform, your TikTok, like all the bullshit that a lot of record labels kind of require now, which for obvious reasons, but it kind of sucks.
It's the nature of the beast, man.
Yeah,
but
it changed 2 years again.
But you just gotta remember, this music's gonna be new to somebody at some point. So don't stop pushing it. I really enjoyed Folklore. I really enjoyed Blackout, and this new single, Bad Love, is out of control, man. You guys just keep stepping it up every time. Before we go, Steph, did you want to say something?
Oh, can I get a word in?
Yeah, would you?
No, I really appreciate you releasing music during the pandemic, because as a consumer, I was really looking forward to anything and everything that was like coming out music wise, and then a lot of people put everything on hiatus during that time, and we're finally out of it, and now we're seeing a lot more people come out. So I just really appreciate you just never stopping. We need new talent, new music, and so thank you for that. Yeah.
Well, I'm stoked that you stumbled upon us.
Yeah,
it was a pleasant surprise, sir.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It's always cool to hear about when people hear your music from like different parts of the country or different countries in general. Like it's wild that can even be a thing. So.
Yeah, man. Well, if you guys ever find yourselves on the West Coast here in Southern California, you guys have a home. We'll put some shows together, man.
That'd be awesome.
We love it.
We'll make it out there.
As long as he doesn't get COVID again.
Right.
Yeah. Would you leave that over there, please?
Georgia has plenty.
Oh, shit. Well, Cameron, Dallas, Casey, thanks for being on, man. We're gonna sign you guys off by playing Deep Sleep off your Folklore EP. But before we do that, guys, real quick, just where can we find you? Your socials, just throw all that out.
Instagram, suitor.ga. TikTok. I think it's Suitor Official.
Suitor Official.
Twitter
is just Suitor GA. Yeah.
All your typical socials, Facebook, blah, blah, blah,
Suitor
blah.
GA or Suitor Official.
Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Music.
All right.
Amazon Music.
Well, you guys, we're so happy to have you on. We wish you the best of luck, and I don't know what else to say. It's just we're happy to have met you, and we wish you the best.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
You too.
You too.
Bye.